I'm moving fast. I want to go right into our CHL segment of the program. Again, I told you I'm a CHL instructor, certified with the state of Texas. And one of the sections that's required is nonviolent dispute resolution. At first, when I first trained with this or taught people this, I'm thinking to myself, what are we doing this for? But as I studied it and learned it and became proficient with it, it's an incredible tool, an excellent tool to use to avoid conflict, nonviolent dispute resolution, to resolve conflict without violence. So I'm going to read from the student handbook what I read to my students in every class, or a part of it anyway. It's a whole section on nonviolent dispute resolution, but I wanted to go over a specific segment and get you prepped on this. So if you got your pencils and paper and you want to take some notes, here we go. In Section 5 of this section, nonviolent dispute resolution, we have conflict situations, parent, adult, and child ego states. So here we go. I'm going to read from the book. Observation of spontaneous social activity reveals that from time to time, people show noticeable changes in posture, viewpoint, voice, vocabulary, and other aspects of behavior. These behavioral changes are often accompanied by shifts in feelings. In a given individual, a certain set of behavior patterns corresponds to one state of mind, while another set is related to a different psychic attitude, often inconsistent with the first. These changes and differences give rise to the idea of ego states. And you know what's funny about this? We all know these. We're just now going to put some technical term names on them, okay? So as I read, you're going to say, oh yeah, I know that. But let's put it to work. In technical language, an ego state may be described as a system of feelings accompanied by a related set of behavior patterns. This next paragraph I'm going to read is very important, especially the last part of the paragraph. The position is then that at any given moment, each individual in a social situation will exhibit a parental, adult, or child ego state. And here's the really important part. And that individuals can shift with varying degrees of readiness from one ego state to another. So basically what's happening is you can have a conversation with somebody and they're talking to you as an adult, and all of a sudden they switch to a child, or they go flipping back to a parent and they go back to an adult, all based on the conversation or things that are happening at the moment. So if we're aware of that, we can at least take a look and say, hey, what's causing that problem? And maybe get us back down to an adult type of conversation. So now, these observations give rise to certain diagnostic statements. That is, your parent means that you're in the same state of mind as one of your parents used to be, and you are responding as he, she would with the same posture, gestures, vocabulary, feelings, etc. This is your adult means that you have just made an objective appraisal of the situation and are using the thought processes or the problems you perceive or the conclusions you have come to in a non-prejudicial manner. This is your child means that your reaction is the same as it would have been when you were a little boy or a girl. Now I'm going to fast forward here to paragraph F to close up this section in our thought process here. Here is a very typical transaction that will nearly instantly induce conflict. A response from a parent state, an ego state. And here's what they're saying. Something occurs which scares, startles, or catches us off guard. After the initial alarm, we get angry and protective, and we say things like, hey, you shouldn't do that, or you know better. Well, the response from the child ego state, somebody responding to that would go basically, when anybody, especially an adult, is spoken to in that mode, the natural reaction is very childlike. And they'll say, none of your darn business, or I'll do it if I feel like it. I don't have to, or you can't make me. When our parent self is spoken to in a manner that is perceived to be as rebellious or resistant to authority, we tend to become more and more parental. The more parental we become, the more childlike resistance others become. And that's a picture of true conflict. Now, paragraph F finalizes it, and I'm going to recap it. The single best way to stop conflict is to speak in an adult to an adult mode. The only way to resolve conflict is to speak to a person in adult mode. This works to diffuse conflict by not allowing a person to get on the defensive and by letting them keep their self-respect and save face. Okay? So when you're in a conversation with somebody, remember and realize we all possess 3 ego states: parent, adult, child. And we are the most constructive when we're in the adult ego state. We're talking on a very rational, nice tone level, and we're communicating our thoughts thoroughly without conflict. But if something happens and we notice that one of us flip from the adult to a parent or a child, we can say, whoa, it just happened. What caused that? Let me think about it. What can I do to get us back on even keel, adult to adult? So once you have that basic comprehension and understanding of what we're dealing with humans when we're communicating with each other, we can pay attention to that to minimize the chance for conflict. And why is this so important with concealed carry? Because why do we always have to talk about guns with concealed carry? Why can't we say, hey, let's avoid it before it even gets to that point? So understanding how humans work and how they respond is a great weapon to have in your cache to try to avoid conflict.